Today we're going to start working on simplifying radical expressions involving square roots. So to get you back kind of into square roots, I want you to fill out this whole table of perfect squares. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. Fill out all 3 columns, pause your video while you're doing it, and then check back. Okay, so since we know that 3 times 3 equals 9, so what is the square root of 16? And we know that 4 is the square root of 16. And since we also know that you can multiply a positive times a positive to get a perfect square, or a negative times a negative. So each perfect square has a positive root and a negative root. So 9 times 9, that's the positive root of 81, or negative 9 times negative 9 is the negative root of 81. So if they don't have anything written in front of it, it's going to be a positive. So the positive square root of 36 is 6. The negative sign in front of it asks for the negative square root, which is negative 6. And sometimes they write both the positive and the negative, meaning they want both square roots. So we just say positive or negative 6 for the square roots. All right, so 1, 2, and 3 are perfect squares. So go ahead and pause your video and just fill out the answers to 1, 2, and 3, and then start the video back up. So it's very straightforward when we're dealing with perfect squares, and they ask us for the square root of a perfect square. But now 4 through 7, they're asking for the square root, or asking us to simplify expressions that are not perfect squares. And I know some of you just want to grab your calculator and come up with some crazy decimal, but they want you to simplify it without getting into the decimals. So you're simplifying it with perfect squares and a remaining radical. So the way that we do this is we follow these 3 steps right here. What we're looking for is the largest perfect square that's under here. And so we're going to just break this down into a multiplication problem. So this is really asking for plus or minus the square root of, and of my perfect square table above, 4 is the biggest perfect square that I can divide into 24. So 4 times 6. Now I can start to solve this. So this is really the same as the the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. And then we know what the square root of 4 is. That's a perfect square. So our answer comes out to plus or minus 2, because that's the square root of 4, times the square root of 6. We cannot reduce or simplify the square root of 6 any further. So that's our answer. So now I want you to do number 5, 6, and 7 on your own. Again, what you're looking for, and use that table of perfect squares that you filled out above. That will help you come up with the biggest perfect square you can multiply. So pause your video and complete number 5, 6, and 7, and then start back up to check your answers and explanation. So just quickly check over your answers, make sure you got them correct. You'll start seeing a repeated pattern and get quicker at doing these as you keep practicing them.